All right, everybody, welcome back. Socially Connected 360. Number 17 is in the house. Um, to have 17 guests in this year, we just started our podcast, is exciting. Tonight, we have a wonderful, wonderful guest, community leader, someone who has struggled and overcome struggle, and it continues to give back to his community. Reverend Daniel Blount is in the house. And we're going to have a great conversation, man. And our goal is to, a lot of people know him. I've known him for several years now, worked together on some initiatives. But those that don't know, he's still out there working behind the scenes, quietly. Sometimes he gets caught in the act. So we're excited to have him on number 17, starting now.
I'm gonna show you how great I am. Great I am. Great I am.
This kid's gonna be somebody better than anybody ever knew.
I'm gonna show you how great I am.
All right, everybody. Welcome back. Socially Connected 360, number 17. Yes, folks, 17 guests. This is a very special guest today, someone near and dear to me, someone I've worked with in the community, someone I really look up to, a mentor of mine. We worked together the last several years here in the Lehigh Valley. I'm so excited because you're going to get to know somebody today. A lot of people know him anyways, but if you don't know him, you're going to get to know overcoming struggle, life after struggle, community leadership. I mean, a lot of different things. Someone who is still giving back after all these years. Reverend Dan Blount, how are you doing? How you doing, sir? How's everything going?
Mr. Garcia, I am blessed to be here on 360, man, number 17. Thank you very much for the invite. Me and my family are doing very well. Thank you much for asking.
Yeah, and so I saw you. As you know, in my government job, I don't talk about my government job too much here, but I saw you last week, and I said to myself, I gotta get Reverend Blount on the show. And I was talking about an initiative we did several years. It was going on, and We're going to talk about that later on in the show. But like I said, man, I told you I wanted to have you on. I'm excited to have you here. It's an honor. So let's get right into it, man. You're a gentleman who's been through a lot. You talk about it a lot of times when I hear you speak. You're a great speaker, and so let's talk about, man, early life. So where did you grow up, and tell us a little bit about your early life.
Well, I I was born in Virginia Beach in 1955. We had a little farm that we grew up on, and we were, some farms have everything. This farm was a little bit lacking, but nevertheless, my grandmother, who we were living with, she did everything and my grandfather, they did everything that they possibly could to take care of us. We would get up in the morning and we might have oatmeal and taking peanut butter and jelly biscuits, homemade biscuits wrapped in paper, newspaper or bags to school. It was somewhat embarrassing, but nevertheless, man, it was a thing that and wrapping wax paper, and you're using bag paper, and that I am not ashamed of that at all, man. That is just the way we grew up. Growing up in Virginia Beach, it was rough for me, only because my family, my immediate family, they loved me, but nevertheless, I was close with a so-called friend, a cousin of mine that I thought was a friend, and he ended up, I don't know if I should bring this in or not, but I'm not ashamed of it because it's something that happened. He asked me if I wanted to go hunting with him. I went hunting with him. He pulled out a Bowie knife and a bow and arrow. And when he let me look at the bow and arrow, he went behind me, covered my mouth, and he raped me. But it was it was troubling, and he threatened to kill my parents and whatnot. And so I never said anything, man, until I went to jail, believe it or not. But we'll get to that later on too. But nevertheless, that's when I first shared that incident. But then once I was 10 years old, we moved up here in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And it was like, man, it was like a lifesaver from the standpoint of getting everything that you need. You wasn't as poor as you were, and it helped us be the people that we are, or the men and women that we in my family that we grew up to be. I went to school at Jefferson Elementary. Then I went over to Horn. I went to Central Elementary, and I went to Rob Allen for a year, and then I went to Deeroff, and I finished up at Deeroff. But growing up in Allentown was an experience.
Yeah, I mean, man, if a lot of people, you know, I guess after so many years and trying to help people, just for you to even speak of what happened to you as a young person, is going to help people. And you already know this. I don't have to preach to you, but because you told your story, I'm sure before. But there's somebody watching today that maybe was victimized in a similar fashion. And so I want to say thank you to you that you were courageous enough to share that with us. You know, I always look up to you as a strong man. You remind me of my dad. You remind me of my dad. And so for you to share that, man, I'm sorry that you had to go through that.
Right.
You know, and your story's powerful. You know, even obviously going through all that, it's just, I can't imagine that you would, you know, have somebody so close to you and they would victimize you. And there's somebody watching this, or somebody's going to watch this. Listen, I'm the pastor, Reverend will tell you, stay strong, report it, come talk to us. Many of you know where I work at, and we'll help you. You know, come talk to the Reverend, you know, tell somebody, you know, because, you know, we think it's important, obviously, that these people are held accountable, and, you know, that it's not a thing that we do. So, but we have some things in common. I would live in Virginia Beach because of my military service. I was a station in Norfolk, so I lived there for 13 years. You know, I grew up in Allentown. I'm a Canary. I support Deeroff. My son goes to Deeroff. So we have all those things in common, and we have another thing in common, which is something that you know, we both have used in the last several years, is basketball.
Yes.
Yes, we don't shy away from these young kids, man. We're willing to take them on, and they think they got us, and you know, we end up you know, holding our own. But over down in Valania. But so let's talk a little bit about that. So you mentioned you know, just struggling. So tell us a little bit how you tried to overcome that struggle. So you moved to Allentown. Were there some struggles in Allentown after that, or when you get here as an adult, as a young adult?
Man, you know, there are many struggles, man. Once again, when we moved to Allentown, we didn't have everything that you know, that everyone else had, but we had love. Mm-hmm. But, you know, once you're outside of the house, man, you begin to do things that your peers do more so than what you were taught at home. And so we had lunch breaks, whereas you had time to eat a snack. And so we didn't have snacks at home. So we would go to this store, me and my cousin. I'm not going to call his name, but he knows who he is. We used to go to this store on Cleveland Street, man, and we used to steal these tandy cakes, man, and we used to put them up our sleeves and walk out, you know. Once I got through elementary school, like I said, I played basketball at Robb Junior High School. Did pretty good. Went to Allen, played JV there, did fairly well. And then I went to Deerhoff, and I think I could have done better if the coach had trusted me more. Because I think I know I was the best guard on the whole team, but I was too fancy at the time. You know, I was Magic Johnson before Magic, and he didn't like that. And so he would only put me in when we were down. But all those things, man, they made me a bit bitter. As I got out into the world, man, I went to the service, and I didn't stay there. They gave me a general discharge for not being able to cope. And so when I came home, I started doing other things like gambling, hustling, and, you know, pimping, if one would say. I went through that, and I abused a lot of people during that time, man, because of the hurt that, you know, I learned now that hurt people hurt people. And so when I think about all the things that happened to me previously and in my adulthood, as I began to hurt other people, I now see somewhat of a reasoning why I might have done it. I'm not too sure if I'm on point, but I'm pretty close. But at any rate, I dealt with that for a while, man, and all the hustle and bustle of life of trying to make it, and, you know, being someone that, you know, trying to be someone that you weren't, you know, because we become products of our environment. And pretty much that's what I did, because all I knew was pimps, whores, hustlers. That's all I knew growing up, man. I was out in the street at the age of 14, 15, you know, hustling, you know, learning how, and got pretty good at it. But nevertheless, man, it was, all these were things that I thought I was, and then I didn't find out later on that I wasn't that person. And so, like I said, I got out of the service. I went through the spiel of life, and I mean life that was tore up, man. I was really messed up as an individual. But there's one thing that I can always remember, Mr. Garcia, is that I always helped people. I remember these people who came from Costa Rica, didn't have a place to live. There was a lady and a man, and they needed a place to stay. And so I started working at the prison as a CO, and I had them stay at the house. They didn't have to pay rent, just clean and babysit. And they did that for quite a few years, and it worked out pretty good. And I might be putting a cart before the horse in some of these things, and I don't want to backtrack, but when I look at my life, man, and I was hurt, and I hurt people. And after I spent, well, I'm gonna let you talk, and then it'll lead me to my next point, maybe.
No. I mean, you're good, because I think it's important that people understand the true perspective of it. You know, what you're saying is what happens to a lot of people that redeem or you know, have a not necessarily a great comeback, but a comeback. You know, for those that hurt people. I mean, I think we all hurt people. First of all, there's different levels, obviously.
Right.
But there's always time, and there's always, as long as you're on this earth, and this is why this show is extremely important to me, because we hurt people, but we can always come back and try to do better, and even reach those people that we hurt, per se, and you know, apologize, or even with our community work. And that's exactly what I wanted to get into now, because you have mentioned this. So you end up doing all these things. You're hurting people. You end up in prison. You are admitting that you know, obviously you're this person that you thought you were, but you're really not. And then, so how did you transition from that struggle to overcoming that struggle to now becoming the community leader that you are today? What happens? Where's the shift? Is there a shift that you remember? Did you?
What I learned, man, is that you have to have a heart to want to do better. When I went to jail, man, and I'll say this until the day I die, and I want God to really open me up to it, because a lot of people believe that I actually did a crime to go to jail for that 10 years. There was quite a few people on my case, and they all got life, and the one young man got out. And I always look at the fact that he got out for him to tell the truth about me, which he has. And so doing 10 years for a crime you didn't commit, man, you learn to adjust to life in its worst way. You deal with what you have to deal with, man. Like I said, coming up the way I came up, man, made me so strong. When I ended up in jail, man, leaving all my kids out here, and that was one of the roughest parts of my life, man. When you can say that a person was bringing drugs into the prison, the very place that pays your mortgage, take care of your children, and for them to say that I brought drugs in there for someone that I know I did not do, it's heart-wrenching. So when I got arrested March 1st, 1995 at 4:45 in the morning, they gave me my papers, and I see the United States versus Daniel P. Blount. Man, I said to myself, me against the world.
Wow.
And I thought that I was going to go home because I knew I didn't have anything to do with it. But, you know, when you don't know law and they give you all these threats, you know, you're going to get life, this, that, and the other. And it's a terrible thing. But if you just think about the federal system and them talking about their conviction rate being so high and they're so proud of it, they shouldn't be proud of something that's 98.9% conviction rate and say that it's something that they did. No, it's really ugly the way that they do things. They don't give you, they don't have to have the whatever they accuse you of, they don't have to have the, well, my case was drugs. They don't have to have no drugs, no nothing, just a conversation from a person. And that person is already doing 25 years, but he can put a guy like me who's never done any time and put me in jail because of what he says. And and pretty much that's the way it went. And I'm done with it. I'm going to let that go. But in my incarceration time, man, I told you, that's the time that I let go of pretty much, because I fought my whole time there to get out, but I never got no relief. So I found myself after about 2 years saying, okay, I got to do something. I got a job, you know, and playing sports was another thing. Reading was another thing. And then I got tired of just being there. So I started doing a course out of Cypress College. And I ended up getting my associate's degree through them. But like I said, man, we would have men's group, and that's when I told them about my time of being raped. But nevertheless, man, you don't do that in jail. But I did because God was with me, and I knew he was with me. Not that I was tough or anything, but God was with me through the whole thing, man. And so I began to read God's word, man, and study his word. And I started living it out in there, which is very easy. When you're in jail, it's easy to live God's word. It's easy. You have you don't have the same temptation. And so going through that 10-year period, man, I found myself doing all the things that I needed to do, work, write letters, do my education, and go home. But what happened was a guy who I knew was crying every night about leaving his wife and coming to jail. And this is what got me back to praying, Mr. Garcia. It got me back to praying with him, reading the word with him getting stronger, and he left, and I ended up getting even stronger in God's word. And so the first time I preached was in prison, and it was awesome because everybody was fighting on the compound, and I preached on love, and wow, man, it was just phenomenal. And so when I got done with my time, I told God that I was going to do 5 things, and I have them written down somewhere. I said, I'm going to get my household saved. I'm going to work until I can't work no longer. I'm going to see if I can get all the churches to come together as one and stop living this life of hypocrisy by saying that they're friends, they love each other, but yet not hanging out together. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about not just the Black church. I'm talking about the Hispanic, the white. That is the Sunday is the worst prejudice day on earth. Because if God said that we're one in him, then we should act like it and come together. I should be able to go and visit your church, whether it's white, purple, green, or what have you, and vice versa. But those things don't happen. And so I'm still working on that. And there was a few more things that I had made up my mind that I was going to do. But the main one was never to leave God, was to always stay faithful to him. Now, that's where I am today. I am home, I'm free, I have a beautiful wife, I have a home, I have everything that God has blessed me with, but not without me putting the work in. Mm-hmm. God's not going to drop something out of the sky. All you Christians out there who are listening to me, don't expect God to drop nothing out of the sky. You're going to have to put your work forth, but you're going to also have to allow God's word to go before that. And that way God blesses.
You know, it's amazing because there's somebody going to be watching this show today that is either facing some difficult times or in the future will face difficult times. And what I caught from what you said, and I do it as well, and I know other folks that do it, you set some goals and you challenge yourself. And I think when you do that, obviously, and you're doing it, you know, you through religion, through God, and I mean that sets it to a higher standard, a higher bar, and the fact that you were hungry to do all those things. You were probably tired of living this life, right, where you were struggling. You know, you want stability. You want to have a family. You want to have a home. You know, all those things. For some people, it happens quicker. For some people, it happens later on in life. So I commend you on that. And we could see it in your work today. So the community work that you're doing today, I saw you this past week. I didn't think I was going to see you. You're on 7th Street. in Linden. You actually were handing out food for the homeless. Yes. And I was just riding the bike up and I was like, oh, Reverend Blount, how you doing? I haven't seen you because of COVID-19. You know, we don't get together. So how the community work? Is it through your church? Is it twofold through your church and personally? How does that come about?
You know, I worked at a place called Queen City. Riding in my truck all day gave me time to just talk to God. And I'm gonna, man, listen, I'm not telling you God said something in my ear and all that other stuff. You know, God spoke to me and no. Yes. God did speak to me, but God spoke to me not in my ear, he spoke to me in my heart. And so what happened first, Mr. Garcia, is that I started feeding people out of my own pocket from 2008 until COVID. And right before COVID, well, I knew this lady. Let me back up a little bit. Before I became a pastor or anything, I started feeding people, right? And I knew that I didn't know what it was. I just started doing it because I knew I wanted to do something to give back to the community. And man, I started doing that, and God began to open doors, man, where I met, well, Pastor Haley, as I joined the church, he licensed me as a minister. And I taught Bible study and with the kids. I had children's church with the children. Me and a guy named Pastor Malone, and that was wonderful. And one thing just led to another, man, as to me becoming this community activist. As I did those things and took care of the people the best that I could, I ran into Madeline and her sister Maria and Pastor Labib from EGMI, and man, those people, I started going to school with them, and Pastor Labib saw something special in me, and after about 2 years there, he said that he was going to ordain me as a pastor and a chaplain of missions, and which he did. And so that gave me the credentials that I needed to do the marriages in which I wanted to do, the weddings, the baptisms, all the things that a pastor was able to do. I didn't want to be a pastor just to say I'm a pastor. You know, when you say that God has called you to pastor, and once you get ordained, man, that's the time you have to roll up your sleeves and go to work. And so that's what I did. I went to work thereafter, and I ended up meeting another lovely lady. Her name is Miss Bobby, man. And Miss Bobby is God sent. Everything that I needed for food, to put the food in. And I mean, she supplied my every need, you know, and it helped me get better at the things that I was doing. And then once COVID hit, we had to start doing things different. We had to start making the food at home or either in the church and putting them all in a shell and then taking them out on the street. We couldn't have food open because of COVID. But once that happened, I met, well, I always knew Pastor Charlene Smalls, but her and I started working on the street. And so she introduced me to the people from Ripple, and I met so many other lovely people, man. And we just started feeding. I told Charlene, why stop because of COVID? You know, let's take the precautions we needed to take, but yet take care of the people because they still needed it, irregardless, you know. And so that's what we've been doing ever since. And as of late, I've had a blessing, man. They asked me to come aboard at Ripple and be a pastor with them. And so I'm a pastor at Ripple, and I have well, I guess later on I'll tell you the rest. But anyway, they asked me to come on board with them. I've been working with them for the last, since COVID, but I started working with them at the church maybe 4, 5, 6 months ago. And they allowed me to preach every third Sunday. And once they gave me the job, now I preach every third Sunday now. And so all this opens a door, man, for me to broaden the horizon that God has for me. He says that his gift will make room for you and bring you before great and mighty men. And so when I look at that, I run into great guys like yourself, Representative Peter Schreier, Mike Schlossberg, representative of, and the mayors who's been here, and the chief of police, Chief Roca now, Chief G before he left.
Fitzgerald.
Yeah. And Fitzgerald, man, I mean, he was a heaven sent. I have no idea what happened, but I'll tell you what, we missed out on a gem with him. We literally missed out on a gem. And it's just so good that you can run into those people, and those people now, they pull you into their circle, so to speak, and you know, it feels good to not to look down at yourself, but now you can look up.
Wow.
And here's another thing, man. I don't have to stand on nobody's shoulders to put them down to make myself look good. All I have to do, man, is continually do what God has called for me to do. And I have been blessed ever since that.
Yeah. And, you know, for me, I get a lot of people, and I'm sure you do too. They're like, hey, man, how can I get involved? And how can I, you know, I see you're so active and you're doing all these things. And what happens is, it's like you said, you start getting involved, you start meeting different people because you're there. You're the most important thing is to be present, right? If you're present,
yes,
and you're there,
yes,
then that's when the balls start rolling, and then it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yes.
And then sometimes you feel like, man, my plate is overflowing.
Overflowing.
Yes, yes. So we see that you're doing all of that. And then, so you had mentioned it now. So you start this program, and I only have a couple more questions, but you start this program, Cops Meet Block. And this is years. I mean, we're talking 8, 9, maybe 10 years before all the issues started to come to light, right? There was issues before they came to light. We know that.
Sure.
It's just now with social media and the media, and rightfully so, because there are police officers out there that shouldn't be police officers.
Right.
I mean, it's just a reality. Just like there's pastors and there's nurses.
Yes, exactly.
But before it started to become, I don't want to say mainstream, but it started to get out a lot. You start this program. So you kind of like leading I almost thought when I saw the program, like, you know, now looking back now, I'm like, man, he knew something. Like he knew that there was going to be some type of major struggle, or there's this friction. And so tell us about that, man. Cops Meet Block, how does that come about?
Remember, I told you that I worked for Queen City Electrical Supply. I drove my truck every day, and I had time to talk to God. And you hear all these things that are going on in all these other states, cops abusing pretty much minorities, people look like myself. And so I asked God, well, what could I possibly do to possibly make it better in Allentown? And maybe as it grows in Allentown, maybe we can take it further. But the reality of it all is that God put it in my heart, and he even gave me the name, man. Cops Meet Block, it's time to unite. And when I wrote it down, as soon as it went to my heart. And so what happened was Chief Fitzgerald was the chief at the time. So I had a shirt made, and it had Cops Meet Block on it.
I still have it.
I don't know if I put Fitzgerald on the back or Blount. I might have put Blount on it, but anyway, I took it up to him, and I told him what I wanted to do, and he said, "Hey, I don't have to think about it anymore." He said, "Get with my liaison person, and we'll get her done." And at the time, Officer Cruz was it. And Officer Cruz and I, we got together, and the people that I knew, like Pastor Maria and other people, we got together and we had this we came up with this basketball thing, and we cops against the community, and then we mixed it up so it would get even better. And so that came from God, man. I kid you not. I just asked God for something to do to make it better between police and community. And that's the very thing that came to heart. Now, as we did it for quite a few years, it got worse with cops killing Blacks. And people say, well, all lives matter, but it wasn't everybody getting killed. It was our kids, man. And I dare you to say that we're using a race card because none of your children are getting killed, but our children, all Black kids, it seemed. I didn't hear too many, a couple of Hispanics, but I didn't hear no white people getting killed by police officers, man. As a matter of fact, I saw them doing ruthless things that they should have been killed, but shot or tased, and nothing happened. But I dare people to say that Black Lives Matter stems from racism. No, it stems from yes, I believe all lives matter. I know all lives matter because all lives matter to me. When I go to the park, I don't look at a Valania as a Black park. I look at it as a public park that Black folk happen to be. Mm-hmm. The reality, man, is that we have to let's start being true with ourselves and about what's really going on, because if we can't be true with ourselves, man, then we deceive ourselves and we become dumbfounded. And so my thing is that, man, let's look at life for what it is and be honest about what you see and then speak on it. Because if you say that you care about what's happening to our Black youth, then don't sit back and say nothing, because you're just as bad as the person who's doing it because you're not saying anything. And so when the heat rose with that, I just backed off of Cops Meet Block for a while because I didn't want any friction, because if we had kept it up, just think, it wouldn't have materialized into anything nice. And so I know in my heart of hearts, and we've talked about it, Cops Meet Block is on the horizon. Yeah, I see it coming back.
Yeah, and again, this show right here. Obviously, I have a government job, but this is SC360, and we're going to keep it real. The reality is that there's a lot of stuff that we have to work on. Right. Whether it's the community, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's church. I mean, we all have to get better. And for me, Cops Meet Block, in my opinion, because of having it for so many years, something we looked forward to. A lot of police officers were involved. It built those relationships. So it was part of Allentown not being part of that national narrative, per se. I am sure that some things have happened that we don't know about. Let's just be real. Yes. However, I know that Cops Meet Block, and along with other organizations and other initiatives and other events that have helped bridge the gap, and again, there's still a lot of work to be done. But I know with the Cops Meet Block, with the basketball, the cookouts, all the food. I know you came out one year. You had awards for so many folks that were involved for so many years. I got a community award out of Cops Meet Block that I didn't expect. I'm always there just trying to have fun with all of you and show you that there are police officers out there, that there are law enforcement out there that care, and that you as a community leader are willing to organize this entire thing, because it's a big deal.
Yes.
So if anybody's watching this right now, get together with Minister Blount, get together with us, the community unit. And if you want to donate or you want to help, and in whatever fashion, like the Reverend said, man, it's probably going to come back. No solid date. I can't talk on that. That has to be talked with the administration and you. But I really love the program.
Yes.
I think it was great for us again
Right.
to bridge those gaps. So I want to say thank you. I miss playing ball with all of you. As you know, we always had a little talking smack. So with the DJ, we had DJs. I mean, it got so
Yes.
big, and the
Yes.
kids would listen. This is the great part about it. So I would be around because I did the youth stuff, and the kids in the schools. Hey man, when are we doing Cops Meet Block again, man? I
Right.
want to play basketball. And I'm like, hey, it's coming back every year, every summer. So
Right.
hopefully we'll get it back. Obviously, COVID-19 played a role, but you're
Yeah.
right. The national narrative was really hot for a while, and rightfully so. And hopefully now we can just get back to business. But
Right. Let me say this. Let me say this as well. Anybody who have any ideas pertaining to Cops Meet Block, how we can make it more fruitful for everyone, the community, and even the police officers. If you have input, let's go. We're gonna put this thing on paper, man, because I have a ministry called Take Flight Ministries. And that Cops Meet Block is going to come up under that umbrella. I'm waiting on my 501c, but it's going to come up under that umbrella as well. But in the meantime, anybody who have any pertinent information that can help it to become better and bigger, let's do so, because this isn't mine. This is ours, and I want us all to be a part of it.
And I love Valenia. Valenia's perfect spot. I love
Yes.
how you do it every year there. One year you brought a bouncy house. I know for 3 or 4 years in a row that was giving T-shirts out.
Yes.
And like I said, it's a great event, and like I said, that's why I want people to know who you are, because
Right.
people need to know. And I know you don't like to get the notoriety. That's not what you're here for. But
Yeah.
but I want to make sure with Socially Connected 360, connecting people 360 degrees on social media, connecting people with folks like you, because you're gonna do more initiatives. You're part of Ripple. You're part of giving out free food. You're part of being a pastor and doing community work. So people know, hey, I mean, I know a lot of people know you, but there's some folks that might not know, and they're willing to work with you. So two more questions. One that I always ask my guests, one piece of advice that you would give 19-year-old Dan Blount, if you could.
Okay. Let me say this first. I want to say thank you to Officer Stanko for all that he's done for Cops Meet Block as well. And Officer Cruz, yourself, and all the chiefs that helped out as well. I just want to say that I love you guys. I appreciate you guys.
Meli Canales came out the last couple of years and helped out too.
Yes. And so I don't want to leave anyone out, but the reality, I just want you to know that I appreciate you, and whatever you can do in the future, please don't give up on us. Just help us out when it comes back. Absolutely. Now, what can I say to 19-year-old Daniel Blount? I would say, knucklehead, stop. All the negativity, all the things that doesn't matter, people talking about you trying to be someone that you're not. Get into the Word of God, let God tell you who you are, because that's the only way we find out who we are, Mr. Garcia. Number two, I would tell Daniel Blount, you should have never left the Army. You should have stayed there, because life would have been much more pleasant, I'm sure, if I hadn't gotten killed over there. But nevertheless, that, or either I would tell Danny, if he wasn't going to go to college, to truly find a career in that machines, computers can't take, auto mechanics, driving truck, if you're called to pastor, then pastor. All the things that a machine can't take, I would tell him, if you're not going to college, to grab a hold of a career, go to school for a career, maintain it, do the best you can with your community, find a wife, have kids, live happily ever after.
And that's my friends, that is what a 19-year-old Dan Blount from today needed to hear.
Yes.
You needed to hear this. Take this. This is from a man that's been in this earth for a long time, that has struggled, that has lived the mistakes or the bad decisions or the indecisions or the negativity or folks talking and just immaturity, all those things that we all have.
Yes.
But take these words. If you're listening to this today, if you're feeling those things, take those words, man. Find the thing that you want to do. If it's like the Reverend said, if it's or pastor, if you want to pastor, you want to do do some community work, whatever the case may be, you got to stay with it. If you're going to be in the military, stay with it, because time just keeps going by. So a 19-year-old Dan Blount had to hear that today. So I appreciate you. It's something that I always ask my guests, because there's a 19-year-old that might, or 20, 25, or whatever the case may be, a young person that needs to hear these things. And we don't talk about it enough, right?
Yes.
So thank you so much for that. One more question, actually two more, but so you mentioned the other day, and I never said anything, but I always noticed it. So you're always wearing bright clothes, and I will tell you this: you're always matching. I don't care if it's a red hat with a red shirt, and that's why you remind me of my dad, and red sneakers. But you always, I don't know if you have like a you know how they have Barbie closets for women. You must have a Ken closet. With all the hats. You probably got hats stacked. You probably have hats you haven't even worn in the last 5 years that are brand new. But so tell us that why you always being the bright one.
Man, what this week, man, must be about, how I dress. But I'll tell you, there was a homeless guy told me today. He said, Pastor, he says, you have on brown. You normally have your sneakers match your shirt and your hat, and we always know that it's you. My granddaughter, I took a picture with the other day. She said, Papa, whenever I look over, I can tell you by your colors, And so why? I've always been one who loved to dress. From the time that I was able to buy my own clothes to match, I was inspired by my brother Charles and Donald Robinson. Those were the best dressed guys that I had ever saw. I always tried to emulate them. I always wore those hot color suits as well, man. If you look at
I know.
The suits were the same way until my pastor said, hey, you're a minister now, you have to tone it down with the suits. Your blues, your grays, your browns, stick with those, but the other stuff, maybe you should give it away. But so I did. I don't wear those bright suits anymore, but when I'm out and about, this is what I enjoy. I enjoy dressing. I enjoy coordinating, just to feel good about myself and hopefully make somebody else feel good.
Yeah, and that's what it's about, man. When you feel good, you do good, you look good, you feel like you look good, you feel good,
yes.
And it projects out to a lot of folks. So
yes.
That's great. I love it. I remember becoming a detective for the first time 8 years ago, or whatever it was. I just remember putting that suit on for the first time in that capacity and just feeling like $1 million, man. I felt great. And yeah, man, I just wanted to share that because I again, we see the pictures, we see you out in the community. I love it. Keep being bright because you're being bright in your heart. You're being bright in your mind. You're being bright on the outside. I mean, it's just a light in the community right now.
Thank you,
so real quick, last question. Where can folks find you if they want to work with you on an initiative or they have an idea or they want to give back to the community? Where can folks find you?
You can find me at Ripple on Franklin and Franklin and Turner Street, or on or at FCI RCI. I'm sorry. It's a off branch of Ripple. It's a place that all the people who don't have a place to stay, there's a place for them to come, get a meal, relax, enjoy their day, get warm. You know, we just don't have beds and whatnot for them to stay, but RCI, you can find me there. You could also find me at Brother Blount 326 at yahoo.com. Take Flight Ministries is something of my own that I hold dear to my heart, and you're going to hear more about that later on. And my phone number is 484-554-6730. You're welcome to call me. I mean, I think that when you're a pastor, you always give people a way to reach out to you for whatever reason. And so my phone number, you can have as well.
And we'll put all that in the description. I want to say thank you again, man. It's been an honor to have you on my podcast number 17. Like I said, man, you're someone that I've seen work. You have a powerful story, a powerful comeback. And I can't wait to see what we have in store after COVID now that we're kind of struggling again with it, but we're going to get back into doing all the things we've always done before, with God's will. And I just want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart being on my show.
Hey, sir. You are very welcome. I'm blown away, number one, that you even asked me, but thank you very much. But this is what I need the people to do, sincerely, is to pray for each other. I am so tired of everyone using this word, I love you, I love you, I love you. And they absolutely do nothing about it. Love is an action word. You know, it's a verb. It does something. It moves. And so let's not stop saying I love you and start showing people that you love them more. You know, it's most important. And pray for our communities. Pray for our police officers and our government, our presidents. Pray like you've never prayed before, because during this COVID time, God is telling everybody something. And I believe that with all my heart. He sent plagues before. If you look in Deuteronomy, you see all the plagues that he sent. I've never seen a plague before now. So God is saying something. And I know he's saying, it's time that you get right with me. You know, my son died for you, and he loved you, and I loved you enough to give my only begotten son for you. And so if you accept him, you'll see him. Whoever has gone to heaven, you'll see them again. And so pray for us, pray for Mr. Garcia, pray for myself and my family, pray for his family. I mean, we just need prayer. You know, pray. And I love you guys. Truly, if you don't believe it, try me.
I got you. All right, folks. Number 17. There you have it, folks. You got to show a little bit more love. Got to do a little bit more prayer. Reach out to Minister Dan Blount out here in the community, Lehigh Valley, Allentown. He's with Ripple. He's with RC1, I believe it was. And we're going to have everything in the description. There you have it, folks. Number 17 in the books. God bless you. Take care.